Greetings, all you Genlock positive new recruits out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I finally got around to reviewing more Genlock. Because I kind of skipped ahead a few episodes, and it's just like, man, this is actually really good. So I'm just like, yeah, why not? Just throw some reviews out there now that I've caught up with everything else that I'm doing. So I'm here to talk about Season 1's Episode 2, titled, There's Always Tomorrow, which, of course, picks up where last episode left off, with Miranda and pretty much the rest of everyone at the Anvil base just completely flipping their shit over the reintroduction of Julian Chase. Now, Professor Rufus Weller kind of does his best to explain exactly what's going on, especially that he is part of the new experimental science unit. And, you know, when everyone questions, just like, man, how is Chase alive? Is it really him? Is it just an AI? You know, a lot of questions that only people in the future would, well, I guess people in the future would really question, because he was declared as dead for 4 solid years. People, you know, that's the thing. Like, had it been a year since, you know, people might have been a little more accepting, like, oh my god, he's still alive, thank goodness. You know, he could go a whole year without really knowing, you know, after that kind of a tragedy, that kind of a mishap, like the outbreak of a brand new war. Like, seriously? You know, so that would make more sense, but after 4 years, you've gone through every possible stage of grief. You know, at this point, most people would just kind of linger on his memory, and that'd be about it. But, you know, to have him just pop right back up, people are in disbelief. But not just that, they're wondering about the new mechs that they've seen, you know, the Hellions. Because it really does raise the questions, just like, what are these new items, new things that they have amongst their midst, you know, that are, you know, being put out there for the military. So Dr. Weller explains that Chase was selected for a new program, a new generation of pilots, since that, you know, their new mechs aren't basically used in the traditional sense. There's no actual person in their pilot, there's no remote control. It's actually all kind of brain function. You know, it uses the brain system and kind of broadcast it to a certain degree to the mech, which allows the mech to act in a kind of almost like an extension of the person's actual body. So, you know, at first I thought it was kind of like a take on how in Evangelion, the synchronization system, where you had the person in there, they sync with the robot, almost making it seem like an extension of their body. But no, here it's just like, it's projected them almost directly into the mech, as in like another part of their bodies for the most part. The only downside being, I don't think they can feel anything. At least I don't think so. But I haven't gotten far enough to see what happens when one of the mechs actually gets injured. So, but we also find out that Yasmin Madrani, who was, you know, introduced with the Dr. Weller in the previous episode, is the second ever person to be Genlock positive. So, you know, we have 2 of the pilots here today, and we even have the commanding officer, Raquel Marine, explain that, yo, we are acting as a kind of liaison. Well, they're being incorporated into our division, so they're to be treated like any other unit. They have other Genlock positive people coming in order to incorporate them into the unit and to teach them proper, you know, military etiquette, how they should act and perform. Since they already show the potential to pilot, they just need to be given a little bit of military training as a whole. But unfortunately, Miranda isn't too happy about all of this, you know, not really knowing if Chase is even really himself anymore. Meanwhile, Miguel Garza, is shown Julian Chase's real body, which is not really so much there anymore, showing the extent of what he went through. It's like everybody questioned the crash that he went through, and yes, he, by all accounts, should technically be dead. And we have this nice little moment where Mingus doesn't treat Chase like any real different. They joke around, they pal around. Mingus does his best to just, be cool with Chase. He even makes jokes at his own expense. There's just this overwhelming sense of camaraderie between the two that just shows the depths of their friendship. And Mingus does ask the million-dollar question. In this day and age, they have regenerative technology. But Weller comes in and states that it's because of the Union's nanotechnology. Because of the way it affected Chase's body, they're unable to regenerate any of Chase's other limbs or even organs to get him back up and, actually really too happy about being there, being involved in all of this, but ultimately because of the spread of the Union and their influence, free nations are more and more harder to come by. And we also get a little bit of Kazu, and we find out that he only speaks in Japanese, but because of these implants or contact lenses or whatever, the same holographic technology, everybody has these translations for what's stated and what's said and all that good stuff. So that's genius, actually. Man, if only the Google Glass was that good, maybe it would have actually gotten a little bit more use. But as they arrive, Weller makes it very clear that they are not fully into the Genlock program just yet. They still have a few more tests to run through before they are fully accepted, with some of them being a little taken aback, but it's just like, well, after we've come all this way to just be sent back, that doesn't make any sense. But Weller makes it very clear that they have a few more steps to go through before they're fully able to put them in the program. We also have a moment where we see that Miranda is still very much not too happy with the situation with Chase, and when Chase confronts her, Miranda makes it known that she's not happy about the fact that he'd been gone all this time, never heard a word, not a thing from him, because she doesn't understand the situation. She just feels hurt that and confused that he's really here, it's really him. Later we find that she turns around, she just needed to sort through her feelings, but for right now she's kind of angry for the most part, and it makes sense when you were that close. They were talking about marriage, meeting each other's parents, all that good stuff, and to just have nothing for 4 years, 4 whole years. I don't know how many of you have gone through 4 years, but a lot can change within the span of 4 years. A lot of emotional states can happen in the span of 4 years. So she just kind of brushes Chase off for the time being. We also have the crew getting used to their new suits, which are made of these kind of circuits and fibers that, Cammy can't even identify, but we get a little close and personal. She's the teeny tiny little builder on the team, where it's shown that she has a great expanse of knowledge in terms of electrical systems and engineering. But they're just like, man, I've never felt armor like this. It's kind of weird. Very interesting. But then we have Commander Marine be briefed that there is an intruder on their base. And as everyone's still kind of getting used and getting ready for the next series of tests, they are put under arrest by the MPs on base, where they state that there's a spy from the Union, where we come to find out that Madrani is actually former Union, but she explains that Weller can explain everything about her situation. But the MPs are just like, yeah, we didn't really come for you, we came for Sinclair, where it turns out that Sinclair is the spy. So it makes sense. He had this smug attitude throughout this entire episode, so I'm glad that they just kind of blow right through it. It's just like, yeah, okay, we got it. And we come to find out that the coin that Sinclair had with him this entire time was actually a small cloud of nanomachines, which he immediately uses to take out the MPs. And as Madrani tries to get in a few body shots on Sinclair, unfortunately the armor that he is now wearing, very much like a Black Panther's vibranium suit, which absorbs kinetic energy, it just boof right into it. It's not like he doesn't feel the impact though, because he kind of gets knocked off balance by the shot, but he's no worse for wear because of it. He then uses the nanomachines to, override the system and disable the alarm. Kazu tries to, go after him, but the suit causes him to launch into the air because it amplifies physical abilities as well, and Kazu overshoots, knocking right into a wall, unfortunately. But we also see Valentina throwing knives at him, only to miss, and Madrani goes racing after Sinclair and tells Cammy, do something about the alarm system. Sinclair continues to cut a swath through all of the military police, and Madrani and Sinclair end up going at it with a few, swift strikes. Man, the action scene here was pretty badass too. I'm very glad that they actually, it's showing the amount of development in terms of Rooster Teeth's animation system. And I gotta say, this is something that I would have loved to have seen on like Toonami or something. That's very much what it feels like. This could have easily been on Toonami. Very much makes me think of IGPX, the Immortal Grand P, which I know some people weren't too down with, but man, I love that GPX. Oh man, just the whole mech system and all that good stuff, the wide variety of characters, interesting characters, just so good. But Sinclair shows he's too adept for Madrani and manages to knock her down. Meanwhile, Cammy manages to get the alarm system up and running. Chase, beams in. Cammy tells Chase what's up. He goes in to help out Madrani, distracting Sinclair, allowing Madrani to get in a swift kick to the face. However, Weller steps in at the worst possible time and is immediately taken hostage. Sinclair gets away with Weller and goes up a few floors, and Chase says he'll beam over because he knows what Sinclair is ultimately after. Weller, however, having no actual fear of anything because he knows he's ultimately too valuable to anyone to actually just be killed off like this, but he questions the fact of what's going on with Sinclair, and it's just that, it's just like, did the Union get to you? You couldn't have been Union this entire time, and, you couldn't have possibly been, faked your screenings unless you're not the actual Sinclair. So he was actually implanted into everything. So it shows just how quick on his feet Weller ultimately is. Meanwhile, Chase beams back, tells Caliban, genlock me so that I might get into the mech and, cut Sinclair off. And Weller tries to guess as to what exactly the fake Sinclair is ultimately after, and how he proposes he'll get away, which is the Hullion. That's what naturally he's after, the new technology by, the military here. Meanwhile, Miranda is still debating whether or not she should go and see Chase, only to be met with the military police and the fake Sinclair holding Dr. Weller hostage. She does her best in order to get the gun away from Sinclair, although he does manage to overpower her and most of the military police, locking him into the genlock area. Meanwhile, Chase awakens his Hullion, and he gets at the ready just in case the fake Sinclair manages to wake up, genlock with one of the other Hellions, he'll be ready to take it on. Meanwhile, as the fake Sinclair sees the base and Miranda ends up seeing what's left of Chase, it becomes very clear that there's something special about Chase in general. Someone on the Union side is very interested in Chase to a certain degree. So, it creates a bit of a mystery. Maybe there's a little bit of background in terms of the Hellions up into this point. We'll just have to wait and see. He also prevents any of the military personnel from getting in by keeping the nanoparticle cloud just going around them, telling them no false moves or something bad might happen. And as he says, he wants to ultimately be genlocked and put into one of the Hellions. Commander Marine tells him, it's just like, look, that doesn't make any sense. You end up leaving your body behind, but Weller, knowing what's up, it's just like, no, go ahead, Caliban, genlock him, put him into the system, go ahead, it'll be fine. And immediately as he's genlocked, he just starts just bleeding from the nose, having a seizure. He just dies. He straight up dies then and there, much to the horror of everyone watching, which is not a good first introduction to the new system they'll be using. It's just like, dude, what the fuck? And Weller has just this cold expression on his face, because I gotta tell you, David Tennant is the funniest thing in this entire series, but that look he gives, it's so damn cold and dismissive. It's just like, just this face of, that's what you get, bitch. And it just lets him die. And Chase is just like, whoa, wait, what happened? But ultimately, the fake Sinclair was not actually tested for genlock compatibility. So it's just like, yeah, no, we even have a moment where Weller's just like, yes, and that's why you make sure that you are genlock compatible before we do this. So, who's up next? And naturally, everyone's just like, yeah, no, I don't want any part of this. Like, it makes sense that everyone would just be completely put off by this, because it's just like, dude, what the hell? And so, a little bit of a rocky start for our new recruits, but again, I've seen the next few episodes, but this was fun. This was fun, and this is the stuff that actually got me to watch more of this. Because I'm sorry, the first episode, as cool and as action-packed as it was, didn't endear me to really anyone. It just felt like generic military versus military stuff. We had some cool stuff here and there with the nanomachine clouds, but I'm like, I'm not endeared to any of these characters. I'm not feeling any emotional attachment to any of them, even though we saw Chase's family and all that. They were only in it for so long, and for all we know, they managed to evacuate safely, because they seem to have a plan. Mother was just like, yo, do this, that, that. So it's hard to say, but ultimately, Miranda's been thrown for a loop, because she's still staring at the situation with Chase just being half there. So it's just like I'm wondering how her reaction to all of this will ultimately be, and gives a bit of a reason why Chase was very much in no real true hurry to go see her. They can't really be together like they could have been before, so creates a bit of an issue as a whole. But good stuff, at least from my perspective. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you feel about this episode? Were you more intrigued, or were you just in it from the very first episode? And you're like, yo, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know good cinematography and plotting and pacing and all that good stuff. Well, maybe I don't. But hey, if you like this video, feel free to leave me a like, and if you didn't, feel free to give me a dislike and tell me what I'm doing wrong in the comment section below, so that I might better myself for future videos. And hey, how about giving me a subscribe, because I will definitely be bringing you more robotic genlock action in the very next video review. But until then, feel free to stay locked into my channel. Bye-bye.